Welcome to the Awakened Mind podcast. I'm Tony Myers, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by a really good friend of mine, Mark Furze. Many of you may know Mark from his creative endeavors as an accomplished actor and musician. And in this podcast, Mark shares his journey into spirituality and healing. I think you'll find this podcast fascinating because we dive into the profound impact and how I help Mark with classical pranayama techniques and how it's changed Mark's life. We touch into some very deep topics like achieving psychedelic states naturally with meditation. We discuss navigating the traps of spirituality and even how to step-by-step tune into high states of consciousness.
Welcome to Deep and Meaningfuls with Furze. So today I'm talking with Tony Myers. He's a sound guy by day, and I met him at a gig. We had a bit of a chat. He seemed like a normal guy, but then I noticed he was wearing a pendant around his neck, some sacred geometry. It's something called the Sri Yantra, for anyone who knows what that is. Turns out that Tony's actually a yoga and meditation master with very high accreditation here in Australia and has had a quite an extraordinary life and been on some crazy adventures and learned some fascinating things. One of the things we really connected on was breathing. And I was talking to him about breathwork ceremonies that I've been through. I told him that I'm an asthmatic, and he told me about a breathing technique called the Buteyko method. And basically he said, if you adopt this breathing method, you will not need to take any asthma medication anymore. And of course, my reaction was skeptical, but I went and did some homework, started doing it, and long story short, he's right. It's changed my life completely. And we talk about that in the podcast, which is, it's huge. It's quite fascinating. We also talk about cult leaders and how cults happen and the ins and outs of the traps of spirituality. We talk about ways to achieve psychedelic-like states without taking psychedelics. Tony's a fascinating guy. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. Here is Tony Myers.
Cool.
We're live. What's happening? Tony.
I'm excited to share some of the knowledge and perhaps wisdom that I've accumulated over the last 20 years of diving deep into meditation and yoga and also living in the real world as well.
Yeah,
excited to share with you how I can integrate these ancient wisdom techniques and then into our modern day life to a way that's applicable and a way that's designed to help us to achieve our goals, dreams, and aspirations.
Okay, so your main understandings of this stuff is meditation and yoga, is that correct?
Yeah, meditation, yoga, and then all the other myriad of self-development techniques and techniques to evolve as a human being that are integrated within those key components.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about cult leaders before, and it's always a juicy topic, isn't it? Like it's in that kind of spiritual enlightenment place, I guess people searching for that, actively, consciously searching for that, you have to be very vulnerable. You have to enable yourself to be understanding yourself. You have to come from a place of vulnerability. And I guess that's where these cults turn up, because you have people that are open enough and vulnerable enough to be misled by some people who perhaps don't have their best interests at heart.
Yeah, I think you're correct partly correct in your description. I wouldn't say all of them actually could be cults. And having said that, I think that for me, the yoga and the meditation and all these ancient techniques are super powerful and structured in the right way. I think they can really help people heal, overcome serious illnesses, and really transform their lives. So the techniques in the ancient wisdom is super powerful. One of my teachers, his name was Swami Vivekananda. He was a psychiatrist for 40 years, a consulting psychiatrist and a yoga teacher, and he toured around the world. And he said to us in class that the techniques that I'm teaching you are far more effective than any Western medicine and Western techniques. So obviously not for, repairing people and that, but in
Sure.
regards to as a therapeutic way.
Mm.
And also a complementary of medicine. So having said that, we could dive deep into some of these people's methodologies. And having said that, there's a lot of people that are genuinely, most yoga teachers and meditation teachers genuinely want to help people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's nothing, you don't hear about it because it's not juicy.
Yeah, and some of the best teachers and who have the best techniques, they're not even known,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well that's interesting, isn't it? Again, it's not juicy. If it's not marketable, well then you either discover it and you're lucky enough to discover it and adopt it as a way of life and genuinely find enlightenment or come close to it.
Yeah.
Or you don't hear about it,
Yeah, and some of these people, they're the best, they're amazing marketers. Like Maharishi Yogi, I've been listening to some of his talks and I'm just going, wow. Like you listen to all these modern marketing gurus and all the techniques that they teach, and he's just seamlessly integrating it better than what they can.
Really?
Yeah.
Like all the NLP stuff.
No, not so much NLP. NLP is another great technique. Just the way he structures his talks and the way he makes his technique to be everything.
Interesting.
So it's like, if you have this technique, you can do this, and you have this technique, you can do that. And
it's a real all-encompassing.
Yeah. And then techniques about, which would be applicable today, that if you do my advanced meditation technique, which is yogic flying, where you sit in lotus and jump up, down, pretend you're enlightened, that this helps to solve world peace.
Wow.
And it helps to reduce crime.
Oh, wow.
So apparently he conducted these studies. So his technique starts off with, the transfer meditation community is not going to like this, but his technique is based on mantras, secret mantras. So once again, there's nothing wrong with mantras. It's an integral part of the yogic teachings. But his first platform was the transcendental meditation technique. So you repeat secret mantras.
So what's a mantra?
A mantra is, there's various different mantras. There's bija mantras, which are mantras that don't necessarily have to have a meaning, but they have a vibratory effect on your human physiology. And they can also help you to go into these more deeper, calmer states. So Om is a classic example.
Okay. So, and you don't have to speak it, you can think it as well. And it
actually, there's various methodologies in this where you can actually even write it down.
Oh, wow.
You can repeat it silently. You can repeat it internally. I guess you could even think it visually, because the visual anchor could have a representation for something special to you, and it could trigger a positive emotion or trigger motivation. There's similar concepts in NLP. So there's various types of mantras, and then there's mantras that are, well, most of the mantras, the meaning of them. It's like kind of like an affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Sankalpas, which is another powerful technique from the Rig Veda, which we could go into. But let's just talk about the classical mantras. So in this context, the technique was that he would give you a special mantra that is secret and only applicable to you.
Mm-hmm.
And
he would decide what that is?
Yeah, or his teachers. Yeah. And you do that twice a day, and then that's pretty much the concept. All you have to do is that. There's no any other methodologies within this concept. So that's the first stage. So once you get that, then there's a teacher stage where you can teach to give the mantra. By the way, the mantras are just on a bit of paper that, depending on their age and sex, I've got the documents, you just give them out like that. So
so it's not, so it's almost like he's 44, male, he gets one of these 6, we give him that
precisely.
One. Really?
And $1,500, thank you very much.
Oh, wow. See, I at least thought that there would be some mystical explanation as to why Tony gets this mantra and Mark gets this mantra.
I don't know. You have to talk to a TM teacher, but they do like a ritual, and they make it, you bring the teacher an apple, or there's some sort of ritual.
Okay.
I don't know about the finer details of that.
Okay.
So you get your mantra and you repeat that. Now, having said that, mantras practicing, I do a lot myself. There's nothing wrong with them, but the way it's marketed
Yeah.
So you give them $1,500 or whatever it is now, you get the mantra, and then that's pretty much that stage. So there's no other these beautiful, amazing techniques that are in Buddhism or the tantric texts or the yogic texts. Having said that, they call this Vedic meditation, but in the Vedas, the Rig Veda, Ardha Veda, and the other Vedas, mantras are an integral component, but they give clear descriptions of how to pronounce a mantra, and they go into very deep detail of the meaning of the mantra.
Right.
So, but this is sort of flipped.
That stuff's taken away.
That stuff's taken away, and it's secret, and you have to pay $1,500 to get the mantra.
Interesting.
So,
and so do you know what the meaning is? Do you personally know what the meaning of your secret?
No, not in TM. No, it's.
So you don't even know yourself.
No, but you have to keep it secret too.
Right.
It's a sound. Yeah.
Your own secret sound.
Yeah, but all those mantras do have meanings. If you do a bit of research, they're all clearly detailed in the Vedas, and they're common. They're common.
No, is the theory that
mantras.
if you find out what it means, it'll ruin the magic?
Yeah, and you can't tell anybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mean to laugh, but it does seem.
I thought you would know about this. No, maybe I've just done so much
I've
research.
heard about TM, definitely, which is transcendental meditation.
It's transcendental meditation.
Yeah, but that and that whole thing about, I have to say that it just seems very novel. You know, this whole you get a secret word and no one's allowed to know it, and it's going to transform your life. Maybe it will. I don't know, but my instinct tells me it smells like bullshit.
Yeah, and actually repeating mantras like Om, that can have a special effect. But Om has a meaning anyway.
Sure.
And there's other Soham mantras, which are basic mantras.
Yeah.
Universal conscious mantras, and that they will relax you and put you into more calmer, peaceful state.
I've definitely experienced that from doing mantra stuff.
And it's what would be very beneficial then is to, I don't know how deep you want to go. This is like putting you into a more calmer, peaceful state.
Yeah.
And then you can integrate analytical meditation techniques, affirmation with meanings, or other mantras with meanings to reprogram your subconscious mind. There's techniques, witnessing techniques, where you can purify your subconscious mind. So when you're in this calmer, peaceful states, that can be just tip of the iceberg. So it's not like the end goal. It's you can use it just for relaxation, and it does have some benefits. But my point is that the mantras don't have to be secret, and it's only one small component.
And it's interesting, the placebo effect, right? Or where people are given essentially nothing that they believe is going to do something, and because they believe it, it does it. Yeah. Perhaps there's a bit of that in there. If you are given a secret mantra or anything, and you know that it's going to do something for you, then there's something beautiful in that. But is that what the intention is?
No, I don't think. And on that topic, that is a beautiful intention, and that is a great technique. But if we look at we go a little deeper into the methodology, then we go into a teacher teaches other people, and then the organization gets money from that. But then the next stage, the next powerful technique, once you're in this vulnerable state, is to do, it's called yogic flying. So what you do is you sit in Padmasana, lotus pose, which most people can't sit anyway.
Is that with the legs like
proper crossed?
Right, yeah, I can't do that.
It's all on YouTube, yeah. So then you jump up and down.
While you bounce.
You bounce, yeah. And then this leads you to levitating, supposedly. But no one's seen anyone levitate or the Maharishi levitate.
Right.
So this is the advanced thing you pay $10,000 for or something.
Okay. Do you get to see it if you pay 10 grand?
Apparently no one's seen anybody, but apparently in ancient times it was seen.
Right.
Allegedly.
Right. Allegedly. It's like that guy, remember that movie Mystery Men, where the guy could go invisible as long as no one's looking at him? It's like that.
But the thing is, this is bizarre. But apparently this leads to enlightenment. Mm-hmm. And these states where you go to the source of thoughts, and also leads to world peace and reduction in crime in your
sphere.
In your sphere.
Sorry, I'm acting like you're the guy who's. I've got so many questions.
So this is
sounds great.
The TM movement, But the thing is, this guy's built so much wealth, like a billionaire from these type of programs. And he also has built these universities where he has taught traditional curriculum as well, but they teach traditional curriculum. And then these are the other paths that they also integrate into the, so he built, there's universities, it's still running it in America at the moment. Massive, big organization.
So this is all transcendental meditation.
Yeah, he made millions of dollars.
Wow.
Billions. And he had all these other businesses as well.
So do you think that there's got to be something to this that is giving people some solace or some joy,
I think they are getting benefits from
because it wouldn't last. All of these things, like even Scientology, there's a point where there's got to be an amount where it's all good until it stops being good, but otherwise you couldn't keep people, like even with Scientology, for instance, the auditing, I've only seen a couple of documentaries. I'm by no means an expert, but it appears as though you sit with someone and they ask you deep probing questions about yourself and your childhood and your feelings.
Yeah.
And it all seems quite painful, but quite healthy. It appears as though these people address some traumas from their life and they can get it out, and then they feel good because they're not carrying this junk around anymore.
Well, that's the indoctrinational phase of the. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
No, but
to answer your question, yes, and if you do sit and repeat mantras, it will have a relaxation effect, and it will put you in a calmer zone. But the problem is for many people, then all their emotions start coming up. Their past unpleasant experiences, their traumas, which they're actually designed to do, but there's no techniques given to manage them and to deal with them. See what I mean?
See, so now you're in a hyper vulnerable state.
So now you're in a bit more vulnerable state, and they don't necessarily give you techniques to deal with this. Right. See what I mean? And the Vipassana is a little bit like that as well. They've stripped all of these key components out of Buddhism and the Vedas and Patanjali Yoga Sutras and the Tantric texts, and just said that that's all meditation. So I'm not too sure if you class TM as a cult because it didn't really have those other components. But Maharishi was celibate supposedly too. He preached celibacy, but all these girls are coming out, he was my boyfriend, and so that they all seem to do that as well. So anyway, that's the basic crutch of the TM.
Yeah.
We could go into Osho. Osho's kind of just built a massive volume and radical different to that. He was just like, he had something like 90-something Rolls Royces, and he just built this massive big following. And there's a lot of, it seemed like there's a lot of not such good things that he did. But then, he didn't bullshit anybody or lie to anybody. He's just like, this is what I do.
Yeah, right.
Come and follow me. And
again, though, because I remember watching that, what was that documentary? Wild Wild Country. That was the Osho one. And of course, there's a narrative when you watch a documentary, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But it appeared like there was a lot of stuff in the lead up that was like, fuck yeah, I want to join. Sounds beautiful. People finding connection and people belonging to something.
Yeah.
And like it appears as though with all of this stuff, you can't be remotely successful if it's all bullshit. There's got to be a majority of it that's legit. And then maybe the nasty intention and the corruption comes in at the end when you've got people completely hooked.
Yeah, I don't think Osho had that intent like some of the other people, but he's pretty radical. And I not really aligned with his techniques either. Yeah. Which we'll go into in a second if you want to, which is pretty fascinating as well. He was just a radical tantric teacher, and he lived.
So he was a tantric guy.
I think. Well, it depends on how you view the techniques.
Yeah.
You could even view the mantras are an integral part of tantra as well. See.
Okay.
So it's how you analyze and view the techniques.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with Osho, his techniques. Once again, we were talking about the breathing techniques. So part of his sort of way of teaching was he'd get a lot of people in for these courses as well, and there's a lot of free love and all this type of stuff happening as well. So he didn't sort of, say I'm celibate, and he didn't approach from that angle like most of them do. But the thing is with his techniques, once again, he's doing these rapid mouth breathing techniques and dancing techniques where you're hyperventilating and you're putting yourself into a really vulnerable sort of state. And then they would probably have all sorts of wild parties and things like that. But the interesting thing with Osho is said that he was on Valium, like high doses of Valium. And here's the interesting one. Apparently he used to take, they used to give bottles of nitric oxide. So remember how I spoke about nitric oxide? It's produced, it's called endogenously, created in the body within. So when you nose breathe, as opposed to mouth, when you mouth breathe, it models anxious nervous states. And we went into all the detrimental techniques, and then the Wim Hof thing with the. So what happens is when we nose breathe, one of the benefits is the body naturally creates nitrous oxide. So nitrous oxide actually dilates your blood vessels. It opens up your bronchi, and so oxygen can get absorbed into the bloodstream more efficiently as opposed to mouth breathing. It also sterilizes the blood and changes the blood's pH, so the body gets distributed in the body and absorbed in the cells more efficiently. So it's interesting that he's teaching rapid mouth breathing that models people who are anxious and nervous, and then he's taking Valium for anxious and nervousness, and then he's also on bottles getting, apparently if it's true, but it seems like commonly known, that he was taking nitrous oxide from bottles. So I think that's a pretty bizarre concept, because when we went into how I was teaching you how to not mouth breathe and do these techniques. So what's your take on that?
Wow. I mean, it just seems so sinister. It seems as though the conclusion that I draw is that he knows this, because if you get people to do the mouth breathing, then you get people in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
And then they are more easily manipulated.
Yeah, totally.
And then he's also mitigating the negative effects of the mouth breathing by popping Valium, which, by the way, you listen to him talk. Of course he's on Valium. Now you look at him and go, of course he is. He's always like, the people need to understand. He's just half asleep every time he's talking. It takes him 20 minutes to say a sentence.
Yeah.
So now that you say that he's on Valium, I'm like, well, of course he is.
And nitrous oxide that you need to.
Wow, that's really that's really fascinating.
So once again, not to beat up all the gurus, then we have another yoga teacher called Krishnamacharya. Okay, so he was responsible. A lot of his teachers taught in the West, and he was a therapeutic yoga teacher. So he taught traditional yogic techniques from a healing perspective and integrated diet, meditation, chakras, all these incredible methodologies that are very powerful. He lived to 108, right? 108. Osho was in his 50s. So you can see the radical difference in the age and the techniques there. See what I mean? So that's another 50 years. And we can't contribute possibly all to
Osho
that.
Died in his 50s.
Yeah.
Wow, he looked way older than that.
Yeah. Apparently
Maybe it was the
in
big
his
long
50s.
beard and everything, but
no, Maharishi lived a little longer. But Osho, yeah. So he had that,
wow.
So I just wanted to bring that point once again that we don't knock all of the techniques, because there's so many powerful, beautiful techniques. And Krishnamacharya, 108, lived to 108.
Yeah, wow. Well, okay, while we're on this, what about Bikram?
Oh my God.
I knew you'd love this guy.
Bikram.
So Bikram's the hot yoga guy, right?
Yeah, Bikram. So Mr. Bikram, I watch too many docos on this type of stuff, Mark.
Great.
Bikram, can I swear on this podcast?
Of course you can, man. Say whatever you need to say.
Let's be a little eloquent. So Mr. Bikram, so once again, the yoga asanas, right? If you do yoga every day, as long as you don't force and push yourself and put yourself into 100,000 degrees room where you're going to dehydrate and put yourself under more stress and pressure, which is the way he teaches, they're very powerful. Like, I wouldn't be alive now if I didn't do yoga meditation. I'm 100% for sure. Just because of my lifestyle, working in the music industry, so many tours, getting 20-hour days, no sleep, another 20-hour day, no sleep, and then just constantly working. And I manage this with yoga meditation and yoga nidra. Many people take, my workmates are on speed, heroin, coke, just to manage this lifestyle. And a lot of those guys die really young too. A lot of them died. They're my age or younger, a lot younger than me.
How old are you?
58. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So where are we leading on this?
Talking about Bikram and the
Yeah.
hot.
So Mr. Bikram, the yoga asanas are very powerful, done in the right way, super powerful. But the way he teaches them, once again, the room is so hot. It's really hot. And you do these asanas in a bit of an extreme way. And it's more about just the flexibility. There's a little bit of breathing. But then once again, I think his main aim is to make money and to pick up the chicks in his class.
So just so we're clear,
yeah.
asanas is the physical
the physical
poses?
postures.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're super powerful, done the right way. They have a powerful effect on your respiratory system, your cardiovascular system.
Yeah.
You're releasing a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And then if we take working on the chakras into that model as well, which is more traditional, done the right way, it's working on all the glands in the body, and you can work it into a self-development technique. It's super powerful. But
he was doing it to pick up chicks.
In my view, it's just about money and to pick up chicks. And the thing is, once again, the room is heated so hot, people in such a vulnerable state, right? And then he's at the back of the room with the big air conditioning funnel pumping.
There's a common thread here with these cats. You've got they all do as I say, not do as I do, and they all seem to be getting their followers into a state of vulnerability, whether it be through rapid mouth breathing or making them address things in their past that is uncomfortable, or putting them in a fucking boiling hot room and making them stretch. There's this common thread where it's like, okay, get them vulnerable, and then they're more easy to manipulate.
But he got in a little bit of trouble because he tried to manipulate. One of his girls was a lawyer or something. But I've got, to be honest with you, I've got no respect for him either. Really.
Right.
Yeah. Zero respect for him.
I don't think that's an uncommon feeling around that man. I don't really know a lot about it.
And, he's made and the thing is, if he just taught in a genuine way that, but I think what he would do, he would once again manipulate the girls by telling them that there's a yoga competition or there's some other tiers, and to get into that, you have to, sort of go through me. Yeah, so that's how he would.
And by go through me, he meant I'll go through you.
Yeah, and look, if you meet a girl and it's mutual and you both like each other, it's totally perfectly fine. It's I'm not teaching suppression of desires.
No, these are completely different things.
Though. So
you've
it's
got someone in a position of power who's
if some guru is helping everybody and has their genuine needs, then it's it's up to the ladies to choose. They can choose, but this seems to be done in a different way. So
wow.
There's Mr. Bikram.
Yeah, I mean, are there any others? I can't think of any more.
Kundalini yoga.
Yeah, let's talk about Kundalini.
Kundalini, that guy was once again big businessman.
Right.
Yeah, he was earning millions. He had a security firm as well.
Really?
So a big security firm, but
because they go together.
Of course,
yoga and security firms.
He was actually, I think, even some of the U.S. Army bases, or he had a lot of bouncers and that which were protecting him and other people. I think he was selling a lot of stuff online as well, like teas and things like that.
Oh wow, he was really working on making some money.
But once again, from my experience of 20 years of studying traditional Kundalini yoga and a lot of the texts, which I'm a big advocate of, and I teach very different to him, I don't think he'd done any studies or he followed any tradition. He just kind of made up a lot of stuff. And then, that's from my view. Yeah, I don't think he followed any. And he was Sikh, which is okay. So I don't think he followed any of the traditional Himalayan yogis or the other methodologies. So he kind of made up a lot of movements, and then that's what he taught.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's from my...
So what was his name?
What was his name? Kundalini man.
Was he the guy that brought Kundalini to the West?
Sikh guy. Yeah, and everyone wears the white. It'll come to me, Mark. It'll come to me. His
It wasn't
name
like
was,
Dave Kundalini.
No, it wasn't Dave
So
Kundalini.
did he coin the term Kundalini, or did that already exist?
No, it's existed for like 1,000 years.
Right. Okay. So
It's like a brand. See,
yeah. Right.
same as. Well, it's kind of similar that Iyengar coined the term Ashtanga Yoga and made his style Ashtanga Yoga, but he kind of. It's probably not going to him, but he sort of just used that term as a marketing vehicle. Yeah, and it's perfectly fine. But yeah, the Kundalini guru, which anyway, everyone will know who he is.
Yeah,
we could find that pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can look it up. So the Kundalini, that's the one, and this gets quite mystical, or maybe it's not mystical at all. But to me, it just seems a bit woo-woo, where you see footage of people having like a Kundalini awakening where they are like vibrating and shaking, and they're having, what do they call it? What's the term called when they have they have this like experience where this energy shoots up their spine and out the top of their head. And I guess I just don't know what to make of it. There's the rational part of me just thinks like, I've never had an experience like that, so it's very hard for me to believe that that's genuinely happening. But then again, I've never had an experience like that, so how the fuck do I know what they're going through? Can you shed some light on what that is? Yeah,
so Yogi Bhajan was the Sikh Kundalini teacher. Yogi Bhajan.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was a very rich man. I think he had a lot of girlfriends and things like that too. Had a wife as well. I think the system of the Kundalini Yoga and the chakras and all that is an incredibly powerful system. It's a very powerful. I teach a lot of this in my yoga classes as well, but not in that way. So I don't teach in these rapid mouth breathing, radical movements. For some people, maybe it's okay. I'd prefer to teach people in a more gentle, systematic way where they have awareness of what they're doing. So you're doing the asanas and you're focusing on the chakras. You're working on various techniques to manage different aspects of your mind that are related to the chakras. There's certain glands around the chakras. You can analyze a different personal aspect of the chakras. You can do mantras on the chakras. You can visualization techniques. It's a very integral system. The chakra petals have a meaning. The Sanskrit letters on the individual chakras have the meaning. It's like this powerful, incredible self-development technique if you unpack it. So it's a very powerful system. Taught in this way, I think people are just, once again, they're doing these radical movements. They're not really aware of what they're doing. It's not like done with awareness. It's like the meditation techniques and the mouth breathing where you're losing control. You're not in control.
So something's happening to you.
The guy who's teaching you and forcing you to breathe and do these things, they're in control.
Yeah, right.
See what I mean? This is my view. I prefer to practice. I can get my students into these elevated, highly aware zones without any of that, where they're in control, and they can go into their own highly elevated states, and then they can choose their own path and take it from there. So it seems like a different methodology. It seems like once again to put people in a bit of a vulnerable state. Some of the techniques might be okay, but I don't think, and then they do calm down, but it's not the way I like to teach, and it's not the way I like to practice yoga. Yeah, because I was going to go to Rishikesh in India to do a Kundalini course, and it was these similar radical movements and all that.
Yeah, right.
So
I wonder if there is there's a beneficial part of these practices where you aren't in control, in the way that, like, I agree with you. I think a majority of the time you should probably be in control of what's going on and willingly have the experience you need to have. But I wonder if there is a time when you need to be pushed. Like, for instance, psychedelics. My experience with psychedelics has given me such a profound understanding of myself that I don't know I would have been capable of accessing let me tell you about, I don't know that I would have chosen to access if I was capable without being forced into it. Now, I don't think that that's always a good thing, because I think that when you're forced into one of those places, you run the risk of, damage, maybe going completely insane. I think that's less likely, but I think it is possible when you're forced into something. So, but I guess what I'm getting at is I wonder if there is part of these techniques where some people might need to be pushed into it rather than willingly go into it. Even though a majority of the time I think that you're right. You probably should willingly do it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Perhaps you could be right. However, ideally, we should be working on a systematic way that slowly progresses for us to get into these elevated states. Otherwise, it could be too much for some people to handle. And some people do crazy things. There was a story of on a Vipassana retreat. This guy was taking people to India, and they were doing all their meditations. One of the girls thought she was a bodhisattva, which is an enlightened Buddha, and she jumped out the window and passed away in front of his eyes.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's a perfect example. We've gone too far.
Yeah, that's one example. So, and when people do, I'm not, when I was younger, I used to drink too much and smoke too much and do all these type of things. So my point is that it preferably done in a progressive way, where you can systematically build up to it. And the other thing with taking too much drugs and things like that is, if you do that every day for long periods of time, it's going to wreck your nervous system. You're going to be in a mess. And then we know what happens to people who take just drugs all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, man, I think as far as the drugs is concerned, I think it's my take on the psychedelics is few and far between. Have the experience, and then
and that's up to you. I think if you've had a good experience, that's fine. And
I've also had terrible experiences.
Yeah, and it's your choice. So there's dangers with doing that regularly, and other dangers is if you have kids, then all that accumulation of toxins and stuff, you're passing that on to your child as well. So that's something that nobody probably takes into consideration. Additionally, I can easily put people in those elevated states without anything.
Really?
Yeah, no problems at all.
How?
There's just systematic techniques that you can transition people into those states. It's where they can easily have states that people have described, because many people talk about the ayahuasca and things like that.
Yeah.
I've experienced it so many times myself, and I've helped students do it. So,
through meditation and breath work?
Yeah. And then it works better. It works more effectively if you do yoga asanas. There's a system, and it has a cumulative effect too. So if someone were to work with me for quite a period of time, or it could even have it in one session, but there's a system. If you do asanas with awareness, systematic, particular asanas that help you to sit well as well. There's actually 114 chakras within the body. So you're working on not just the major chakras, you're working on the minor chakras. This regulates the energy. A lot of it's got to do with your energy too, which is the tantric practices. So we could work on the model of asanas to prepare the physical body, pranayama techniques to work on the energetic body, and then we can work on other methodologies that help you to start to cleanse and purify the emotional charge of past bad experiences in a natural, more calmer, peaceful way. And then we can transition into techniques that help you to tune into higher states of consciousness. And then from here, then we can have all these mystical experiences.
Wow.
So it's like a transition step-by-step process.
So are you talking about like a similar state to what you're in when you're in psychedelics? When you're tripping out?
Well, it all can be created naturally within your body. So we look at the studies on meditation, for example, yoga nidra, which is another tantric practice which I'm very passionate about, and it's probably saved my life. Studies have shown that there's a 30% endogenous release of dopamine, 30%.
Wow.
And this is done within the body has created that. more reduction in cortisol than any other meditation technique. It's super powerful. They use it to treat U.S. veterans, Iraqi veterans, and Vietnam veterans. My teacher, he said to us that he never lost one client. So apparently, suicide is very common within war veterans. So there's these.
It's more common that they die by killing themselves than they do in war.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Yeah,
no, it is. My dad's actually works for. He does some stuff with legacy, so it's helping the widows.
Yeah,
and it's really dark. It's like 10 times as many of them die when they come back.
Yeah,
than actually die at war because they just can't handle it.
Yeah,
There's
I didn't
no
realize
for them.
That's really bad.
Brutal.
Yeah, or the support is
the number. I could have got the number wrong, but it's definitely
I'm not
more
too sure.
than what die in
Yeah,
battle.
and it's so for those guys, once again, they're probably drugs, alcohol. They're trying to mask it.
Yeah.
They've had these so many traumatic experiences. And this is where, once again, the system I'm talking, because it's stored in the body. All that shock and trauma is stored in the body. And I just think that the asanas and the pranayama and all these mantras and techniques done in the right way. Well, the Pentagon is actually paying. There's a therapist called Richard Miller in America that actually he treats them, and they get big grants, and apparently they have a lot of success. So there's just on a therapeutic effect. Yeah. So I guess my personal belief on that topic is, yes, you might have these experiences. I personally believe if you have the right teacher, you can easily transcend into having the same experience. And then long term, it's not good for your body. And then you pass that on to if you have a kid. So I think if you want to do it and have fun, it's up to you.
Sure.
And maybe some people need to experience that, but I wouldn't approach it from a point that, hey, I'm going to take these hallucinatics all the time to have these experiences.
Yeah,
because,
no, I agree with that.
Anyway,
entirely.
that's my point on that.
No, I completely agree
Yeah.
with that. I think I don't think that I don't even think people they should be called in the same category as drugs, because it's, from my experience, it's not the same. Like for me, psychedelics are a teacher. They have taught me things, and I've done so few considering the amount that I talk about it, because it had such a profound effect on me.
Yeah, okay.
But people who are doing it often, I mean, all the best. I can't see how that would be good. I completely agree with you. I mean, but I do think that there's probably some people who, like, I'm open to what you're saying, and I would be intrigued to try it out and see for myself if I could get to those states through what the techniques you're talking about. But I know there's a lot of people who just aren't going to do it. The only way they're going to access and experience anything as awesome as those states are through psychedelics, if they even do that. Like, they're not going to sit down and do there's a lot of people that just aren't going to do this. They're going to hear the things that you're saying and they go, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to sit down and do it. They go, I'll take some mushies though. But that's not the way to take mushies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Yeah. But I do completely agree with you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's important to have these conversations, you know? Like, so people can, you know, learn about this stuff. Like, I'm learning about it. I've got to say, like, I'm skeptical that you could get to the state that you could get to on mushrooms or DMT that you can get to without taking it. I mean, maybe it's not as psychedelic, but, like, have you done psychedelics before?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't. Yeah, no.
Okay.
So, no, I think when I was younger, we took a quarter or something. Yeah.
Like acid?
Yeah. So that was it. Yeah. I haven't really taken a lot of drugs, really, to be honest with you. But I've spoken to a lot of people. Yeah, but I think you can get, like, here's an example of that. I was doing a yoga teacher training, and I was living on an ashram, and you're eating really good food, and we're just doing practices every day, and you're just going into these incredible wow states, like out of body experiences, enlightening experiences. Is just all those things they talk about. And then one of my classmates, we went for a little walk, and I'm not too sure if I played reggae or it just somehow bumped my phone, and this reggae track played, right? And we just both, I'm not lying, we both went into this most incredible state where it was like we were stoned that we've ever both experienced, right? Natural, clean. And we just both started laughing and we're looking at each other and she's going, we're just looking at each other, wow, we're like totally out of it, So that was
cool.
one experience, but we did a lot of practice and all that. And somehow that it was an anchor. See, that could be a visualization. It was a visual anchor.
Yeah.
Just triggered it for both of us. And we just were walking and we started laughing and we just looked at each other and just started going, she's going, wow, I'm so stoned. I'm going, yeah,
That's funny because I often think about that with reggae. Like it's which one came first. We know that there's a big stoner culture within reggae music, right?
Yeah.
But do they make that music to emulate being stoned, or are they stoned? So then that's the music they want to make. Who knows which one came first?
The music would have been made on a lot of joints too.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Anyway, so it was interesting chat on that. Yeah, I just think long term you got to be careful and long term.
Absolutely agree.
What it does to your system. Yeah, because you don't want to ruin your body's system.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, that would be my advice.
It's funny too. You talk about being not taking any substances. I've been watching this show Alone. Have you ever seen that?
No.
So it's pretty savage. It's a survival show. They take people.
I saw a trailer on it.
Yeah.
In Tasmania or?
Well, I don't know if they've done it in Australia.
Okay.
The ones that I've seen I've only seen one season, but
yep.
They basically take 10 people out. This season was in Mongolia. And they just take them out. It's middle of nowhere, just wilderness. And they're allowed to take a bunch of survival stuff, not heaps.
You've got to,
and they just have to live out there as long as they can, off the land.
Yeah.
Fishing, hunting, gathering, and they have to document everything. So they've got, big battery packs, and I think they get med checks every 10 days or whatever.
Yeah, they've got to check up on the people. Yeah.
But they're alone. They're legitimately on their own. And the fascinating thing about it is obviously all of them experience some level of starvation.
Yeah.
Unless there was this one dude who caught a moose or something and killed a moose. So he was good to go. He had so much meat. It was amazing. He was doing so well. But the rest of them, they pull them out because they're starving. But the point of what I'm saying is there's a common thread that I observed in all these people where they had some form of enlightened experience. They're completely alone. The amount of moments where they sit and talk to camera about just how grateful they are to be in the wilderness and to just watch a sunset or to watch the river is really, really beautiful. Yeah. And how then the other thing, like there was this one guy who was talking about, and this is actually a common thing they talk about too, is just how much they appreciate their family and friends. Yeah. And how connected they feel and how, going into things that he's done in his past. And this one guy was like, man, this place has healed me. Yeah. And he was talking about basically an experience of enlightenment into who he is and who he wants to be as a husband and as a father. And I'm sitting there crying watching the show, and there's this guy, because my wife and daughter are away for a week, so I know what it's like. This guy's been out there for 65 days in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. But the point being, it's just really fascinating that these people are able to. They're doing exactly what we're talking about. They're reaching a state through fasting, essentially, and being alone without technology, apart from their little cameras. They've got no phones, they've got no contact with other humans, and they reach a different state.
I think part of that is nature is a very healing effect too. Apparently there's been some studies where when you go out in nature, there's different vibrations or energy or something. I think people have studied it. But here's the thing, because they're on their own too, and they've got to reflect on themselves, their mind is naturally purifying and coming up with conclusions and probably naturally thinking positively on certain things, and maybe things are triggering them and they're not getting as triggered and they're starting to purify things in the past and reflect on positive things, see? So the mind has your natural ability to do that. This is the thing. So that's why when you get into these elevated meditative states, you go into a place where you start to witness and you're more evolving on your more evolved brain, okay, as opposed to the primitive brain. So what happens in these states, if you're taught the right techniques, then your mind will develop the ability to understand and past experiences, and it will come up to conclusions, to solutions, or it will release the emotional charge of what happened. And this is where the mind gets freed. And no one is taught these techniques. So, and there's specific techniques where we develop the ability to get into these evolved higher states, where your own mind will heal itself and come up to its conclusions. And then there's other techniques where you redirect the mind to reprogram the subconscious mind. It could be mantras, could be affirmations, it could be analyzing a thought that you're having, and then you turn that thought into a positive, empowering thought, and then you start to repeat the positive, empowering thoughts, and then this starts creating new neurons in your brain, and it's like a habit. Then you're starting to reprogram subconscious mind. You're visualizing positive outcomes instead of being stressed, and perhaps past experiences keep on coming up, and you're visualizing past experiences, and it's creating a lot of stress in your body. So I would say possibly one of the reasons, or two reasons there, nature, and they're sort of naturally going into these meditative states because they're on their own.
Solitude.
Yeah, solitude, see. So, and if I could go a little further on that topic with meditation, it's commonly taught, just be in the present moment, stop your thoughts, still your mind, don't have any goals and things like that. Whereas this is the biggest load of nonsense as well. Because let's view this. If we go back into the past can be used as a very powerful tool. Number one, you can learn from a past experience and then bring that learning into the future and then make better decisions for positive outcomes. You can also go into the past to build on your skills. So let's say, and we forget about how powerful, and we forget about the challenges we've overcome and what we've learnt. So I'll give you an example. My partner was a Buddhist, so she's been meditating for 30 years. Got to a point where she was super stressed. She was having problems at work. It was creating all sorts of illnesses in her body, which I helped to heal too. But I started to talk to her, and she's like some high-profile accountant. And because of stress, she was doing some low accounting job, which she could easily do, but she was still stressing. So I started to analyze the situation. I said, well, but you're highly trained at some master's degree. You're doing this lower job. You've done it for 5 or 10 years, that job in the past. And then she just went, oh, yeah, you're right. I never thought of that. So she's going into work stressing out every day, where she can eat. She's done the job thousands of times for years and years before, and then just that little switch. So we can go into the past to realize that we have the knowledge and the skills to learn. We probably have the skills to do something in the future, but we fear and we stress out in the future. So that's an example there of going into the past, learning, overcoming solutions, and creating plans for a better future. So you need to analyze what's happened in your life and then create a plan. And then you follow that plan and then that's how that reduces stress as well. So the past is very powerful, but the gurus teach you just be in the present moment and having goals. We're human beings. That's part of being a human being.
Yeah, well, we're having
goals and dreams.
the human experience is that we see time on a linear scale.
Yeah, it's natural.
So like maybe in the next place that we go to, we don't experience time that way. But right now, time, there's the past, there's the present, there's the future. So I agree with you, the having goals thing, it seems to make sense.
It's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're a product of our past, present, and future.
Yeah. Well, I would, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I talk about how that element of meditation, clear thoughts, be in the moment, is such a frustrating thing, and so frustrating that I think it makes a lot of people stop meditating because it's near impossible to do. Like you can only get moments of that. And for me, when I haven't got a current active meditation practice, I'd like to get back into it. But when I was actively, consistently meditating, I figured out at some point that the actual goal for me of meditating was to observe when my mind had wandered, rather than trying to focus on not focusing on anything. It was going, oh, I've wandered off. Now I've come back. So for me, I was like, oh, cool. That is the bicep curl for the mind. That's the rep, was realizing, oh, okay, now I can separate myself from my thoughts again. And that was when I found a lot of progress in my understanding of my own mind. But the whole only trying to focus on not focusing on anything just drive me insane.
Yeah. And it's once again within these powerful ancient texts, it's not really the way they teach meditation.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's formulas and systems that are within all the Buddhist yogic tantric texts. So that is, I think the reason why you keep on coming back to the breath in that in the initial stages is to get you into a more calmer, peaceful state where you can witness and understand the mind. It's not like the main aim or the outcome of the meditation. It's just a technique to allow you to come back to the breath, to be in a more of a highly elevated, conscious, aware state where you can analyze, understand, and purify the mind. So it's it is a technique, and just being in the present moment is a powerful, beautiful thing. When you're with your child, when you're doing a task, you need this. It's a very powerful thing, but it's only one small component of the myriad of practices. And in Tantra, a lot of the tantric texts, it's highly focused on concentration. So it's all concentrating on mantras and concentrating on positive things in the future and visualization techniques. So it's very different as well. It's all concentration and awareness practices. They pay more emphasis on that. Whereas some of the Buddhist core teachings are very deep analytical meditation techniques. Dalai Lama is always talking about developing wisdom and knowledge and these type of components as well. And that's a key component of all of these texts, is developing high levels of wisdom and knowledge. Yeah, and analyzing who are you? What is your life purpose? These are powerful things. And then when we can practice these techniques and you discover what you really want to do with your life, you have less stress. When you can analyze something and think, oh, I've done this task before, or I have all these skills, then you have less stress. When you can redirect your mind into the future and go, yeah, I can do this, or if I just do this and this, I'll achieve my goal. So then there's less stress. The stress is epidemic.
Oh, yeah. And it's only getting exacerbated with
It's
our
only getting
smartphones.
exacerbated.
Like you think about all the stuff that's...
Yeah, because that's reprogramming you.
Yeah.
But it could
it
be
moves
used
so
for good.
fast too.
It could be used for good. Yeah, it could be used
absolutely.
for
It's
good
a
as well.
tool, but it's as soon as you get sucked into TikTok and Instagram and that kind of thing, it's like it's slowly but surely giving us all ADD.
Yeah, it's distracting the mind. That's where the concentration is so powerful. And the phone, it can be a beautiful thing too.
Absolutely.
You can use it for great things like meditation and affirmations.
Yeah, the phone doesn't make you open the app.
It's not people demonize the phone as well, but it's a very powerful tool.
It's a tool, yeah.
And we could go on to the ego as well. That's the other thing people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually,
I think we spoke about that before.
Yeah. Well, what I was intrigued about is you hear these stories of people, these meditation gurus who they go off and they sit in a cave for years and they meditate and they go so into the ethereal realm or whatever you want to call it, but it appears as though they would be so disconnected from the physical world because they're just sitting in a cave. So they're not really exploring their physical experience, and it's all just into the mind and wherever that's going. What do you think about that? Like what kind of places do you think that a human being is capable of going to? Like, do you think that I'm talking some mystical shit, right?
Yeah. Okay, let me just.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was, and I believe this stuff is true. So there was a Buddhist monk, and he'd been meditating for 40 years, right? Wow. And there's these people, their nails,
yes,
I even met somebody in London who said they went into a cave and they saw somebody. So their nails are growing long, their hair's growing long, right? So they've been meditating for a long periods of time. And I think occasionally they do get tended to. And this apparently guy, he said that he went back so far back in his past lives that he was aware of when he was a grasshopper or something, you know. Anyway, that's what he said.
Wow.
And this guy's eyes were so, he'd been meditating for so long, you could see his eyes were just like, and apparently he went to the Dalai Lama and he said, oh, look, I'm going back into seclusion, you know. And the Dalai Lama said to him, no, I think you stay in the real world and teach people what you learn, you know. So
we've got addicted to the meditation space.
Yeah. So I think you'd be surprised the states, that's what I'm talking to you, Mark, what you can attain.
Yeah.
You'd be very surprised if you do the regular practices.
Look, I believe it, man. I just think like the society that we live in here in the West, in Australia, and the things that we are taught and the things that we are not taught are very specific. You know, so but what if that's pivoted? What if the things that we are taught are all about honing our instincts, deep meditation, you know, emotional intelligence, these kind of things where what if we lived in a society where that is the stuff that we study deeply? My questions are, what are we capable of? And it's talking about things like placebo and those kind of things where if your belief is able to have a profound effect on your body where it can either heal you or make you ill
totally,
or even kill you.
Yeah.
What else can it do?
Yeah, I've had some pretty interesting, pretty evolved states. And here's the thing. I think those enlightened experiences I've helped students and I think they're attainable. But the challenge is then maintaining it and living in the world. So that's the challenge, see?
But you know what's funny? That's the same challenge after having a really beautiful, enlightening mushroom journey for me. I learn all these things.
Yeah.
And then I come back and go, okay, now that's over. And my job is to hang on to the wisdom that I learned. And it slowly but surely fades. You still remember it, but as far as living it and being it, it just fades. Whereas I think if you are able to have a practice where you can find that place and access those lessons, then it would probably be much easier to hold on to.
Yeah. And
you're not relying on taking a substance.
Yeah. And it's your environment, and you got to look at the environment you're in, and it takes a bit of time. But okay, so the thing is, that's why we need to discover our life mission, what we really want to do with our life. And then that's when I think you're evolving. It's all about evolving as a human being. As far as the states go, well, the longer I live and the more practices you do, the more you get these glimpses of interesting things happening. Like my Buddhist girlfriend, there was a lot of pretty interesting meditations. There's a lot of out there stuff happening with her. It was pretty fascinating. Yeah, but it was a lot of challenges as well. So it's like these big high peaks, different culture. I won't go into it, but it was pretty fascinating. Yeah, what sort of experiences are you talking about that you think is possible, or can you be a bit more precise on that topic?
I'm just dreaming, really, thinking about what are we capable of? You know, when again, coming back to the placebo thing. So here's a story. I don't know if this is true, but this is a story that I heard. There was a man who was accidentally trapped in I think it was like a freezer carriage of a train. Now, I don't know if he worked there or what, but he was shut in.
Okay.
And he had some kind of medical training or something. And he was like, I'm going to freeze to death in here overnight. I'm going to die. So he started to document all his symptoms and everything that happened to him. He wrote it all down. And the next day or whenever it was that he was found, he was dead, froze to death, and he documented all the things. But it turned out that the freezer wasn't turned on.
Oh, no way.
So he froze to death,
Oh, there you go.
but it wasn't on. Now, I don't know if that's a true story. It's a cool story, but I heard it from somewhere. Let's, for the sake of the argument, pretend that it's true.
Yeah.
I believe that's true. I believe that a human being is capable of that.
Yeah.
You know, human beings are definitely capable of giving themselves illnesses and making themselves sick just through their thoughts.
Everyone's doing it. We're all doing it.
Yeah. So I guess that's pretty fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So then what other things are we capable of? You know, like the levitating thing. Can a person actually levitate? Like that's what I think too, but maybe we can. You know?
But I mean, these things of communicating telepathically and all that, there's a lot of studies that seems to be like, and we're all doing that naturally anyway, without words. Our thoughts are vibrations as well. This is another yogic concept that every thought we have is a vibration as well. So so there's all these other things that we're capable of. I'm not too sure specifically of what you asking where you're headed with this.
I'm just asking how you feel about it, to be honest. Like I
think we're capable of much more than what we're aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's like a practice too. If you wanted to spend the next 10 years practicing telepathy and stuff like that, you'd probably get pretty good at it, you know?
Yeah.
When I was in Norway, one of my singing teachers was supposedly a white witch, they called her. And I met her daughter, and apparently they're just communicating. She was in Barcelona, and apparently they're communicating quite regularly, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah.
People are doing that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that bends my mind on often. I think about that kind of stuff and just wonder what we're really capable of if we.
What precisely would you like to do, Mark?
Oh man, what if I had superpowers? Oh, don't get me down that rabbit hole. Who knows?
Maybe you do. You just need to develop them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you know, and here this is kind of a subtle version of that. We really connected over the breathing.
Yeah,
and so basically, a recap of what happened is we were chatting and talking about how I'm an asthmatic, and you sharing how your mother was asthmatic. And basically, the knowledge that you shared with me has completely changed my life. You basically were telling me about Buteyko method and nose breathing. And so I did a bunch of homework on it. Yep. And now since then, I don't take any asthma medication.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is the first time in my entire life. I'm 37 years old, and now for the last 3 months or so.
You haven't taken any for 3 months?
I've taken one.
Awesome.
Yep. One puff of Ventolin.
Wow.
And there was times when like just recently the seasons are changing, it was quite windy and I was having a lot of allergies and feeling some asthma symptoms. Normally a week like that, I'd be taking 6 to 7 puffs of Ventolin a day.
Wow.
I didn't take any.
It's winter now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. It's actually, and you said to me, you go, it'll change your life. And I was like, yeah. I'll try it. I'll tell you whether it's changed my life or not, all right? And then I did it and it's changed my life.
Cool. And you've done your research too. Respect for doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with that is it's not common belief, because the common belief is that you need. Yeah. And if you could just go through the rest of your life just reducing that Ventolin considerably, it's a big win. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree with that. I guess, look, my belief system in general is that I'm a bit of a hippie in this sense. The closer you go to being natural, that just feels instinctively better to me. So if I can not take medication and just use my breathing, amazing. And I guess, we can this is where I get frustrated that why has a doctor never told me this? Why are the people that we trust with the knowledge around health and well-being not telling me this? And you, some dude who I just met at a gig and we hit it off and had a chat, can tell me some information that completely changes my life.
I've done a lot of research and study more. I've done a lot of study and research.
Clearly.
I guess the doctors are just indoctrinated by the drug companies. And it could be their belief too. They mightn't believe that, that just breathing can help. They're not they're obviously highly trained, but
Yeah.
problem with doctors is the drug companies write the curriculum for them.
That's it, man. And
Yeah,
I don't blame the
Yeah.
individuals, because you can't be an idiot and become a doctor. These are highly intelligent people,
Yeah.
but they're learning what they're taught.
Yeah.
And it seems that some of the stuff that they're taught may not be right. Like, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, and the doctors, but they do a lot of good as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So once again,
absolutely. I don't want to bash doctors, but it's
yeah. We could go into. I think we spoke about that last time, but yeah, there's especially the meds for depression and all that. There's a lot of those studies are flawed, and
there's so much money to be made.
Yeah, there's so much money. In America, the drug companies run the government and everything.
Yeah,
they're giving massive.
And all that stuff's coming out, isn't it? About how the government and the FDA and the CDC and all these companies that are meant to regulate the drug companies are being funded by the drug companies. So, like, tiny conflict of interest. You can't really. Unfortunately, it's got to the point where it's unwise to trust the things that these companies are saying.
Yeah, and people want a quick fix.
Yes.
So, and they don't believe. It's taken a long time to convince me of the power of this holistic healing, because even after 10 years or so, I kept on reading all these scientific studies, and when I worked at the university, a lot of my students and my other partner was a scientist, so that's why I'm convinced. But it's taken me a lot of time, and I've read thousands of scientific studies and so many books on meditation. I've seen people overcome some considerable illnesses that they were told they'll be on medications for the rest of their life. And I'm testament. My mother, grandfather, auntie, everyone has died younger than me. Like, so if it's DNA, and I don't plan on going there for a long time. So, and I've had my own heart problems and told that you're going to have a heart attack and all this, and I've overcome that myself. So, it can take a while for people to understand. It's education, and then I think they need to do the practices as well.
Oh yeah,
and finding the right teacher too, because you need to find a holistic teacher that has a holistic system.
Isn't it interesting how I don't know if you get this, but even that word holistic in society, like mainstream society, I feel like people. They hear that word and they turn their nose up at it, holistic. But that's a beautiful word, actually taking everything into account and looking at everything that's going on.
Yep.
That's the only way we should be doing it. But yet people go, oh, holistic stuff. Oh, that's some woo-woo shit. That's not going to.
Yeah. If you have, let's just look at your case, okay? Your asthma. If you just did the breathing, it will be useful for yourself. But let's say you incorporated a regular asana practice, incorporating with that. That's going to super help you as well. Dietary changes, meditation. What else can we incorporate that? And then for yourself, you're a musician, so this is your other thing that you love to do. So you can incorporate that into your healing. Going out in nature. So all these, if you do all these things together regularly, it just has an incredibly powerful effect.
Yeah.
So that's the holistic. Yeah. And then specific meditation techniques, they're all integrated. And then doctors are useful as well.
Yeah.
But if you, swimming, keeping fit,
Well, and here's an example of that where it's, someone comes in to see a doctor and they go, I'm really stressed out and I'm really anxious. Shouldn't the question be, what's going on in your life? Instead of, you need to take these pills. And obviously that's a very reductive way of looking at it, but it seems as though taking the medication should probably be the last thing instead of, okay, I'm going to write you a prescription and go see someone else about your stress. It's like, like the holistic approach of how's your diet? How much exercise do you do? What's your home life like? What's your work life like? How do you feel about your life and your choices? Because you can guarantee that if you fix even just a couple of those, there's no medication involved. and it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like even just exercise.
Yeah.
Regular exercise is going to make a person feel better about their life.
There's studies that have proved just exercise helps considerably with stress and anxiety as well. So it's and the interesting thing on that fact is a psychologist who has studied for however long they study, 6 years, they can't prescribe pills, meds, but a doctor can, and the doctor hasn't studied. So only a psychiatrist can prescribe meds, or a doctor. A psychiatrist is a doctor who has studied certain aspects of psychological components.
Right.
But a psychologist who treats you naturally, they're not approved because they have all these techniques to help you. Probably.
I've got a mate who's a psychotherapist, and he's not able to prescribe anything to people, and he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Because
there you go.
That's why he chose to become a psychotherapist, because he believes that you don't need to start taking
Why
drugs.
Why not treat it naturally first?
Yeah.
And give people techniques that will help them, and then see how that goes,
Yeah.
Because I think the thing is, what people don't realize is that there's a big accumulation of stress built up, and from their childhood, could be past lives, depending on how far you want to go back.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to understand, resolve, and release this stress. They need to be able to modify their lifestyle, their diet, and they need to be healthy.
Yeah.
So giving them pills is not helping them at all, really.
Well, it's symptom treating, isn't it? It's not going anywhere deeper than the symptoms. Like if you're feeling anxiety, here's something to make you feel less anxiety. But it's like, well, why are you feeling anxiety?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's look at that. Well, that's much more difficult. But do you want to fix the problem, or do you want to Band-Aid the problem? And I guess that's kind of the society and the culture that we live in, which is I guess sad, but it's where we're at.
There's other ways, but it's becoming popular,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, they take a bit more work, but it's it's definitely there.
The thing is, I wouldn't necessarily look at it work. You just integrate it into your lifestyle. So
sure.
It's
that's a better way of putting it. I think the work element comes from it being something that you're not used to. So therefore the ego goes, I don't want to do that. So it does take a bit of motivation and a bit of discipline to put these things into practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the benefit of these holistic practices, whether you do Tai Chi or even other sports, as long as you don't practice the sport so much that you're stressing it out. You integrate it into your daily life. Like I love going to a yoga class. Yeah. I love practicing meditation. I'll do it every day and every night, or at least I've got my yoga nidra practices where I just lie down and press play and do that during the day. I'll go to sleep. So for me, it probably was hard in the beginning because I was probably trying too hard and forcing myself. And
sure.
But for now, it's just part of my life. So it's a beautiful thing. So if we can integrate whatever you feel you need, that's, whether it's Tai Chi, yoga, or your sport into your life, that's where it becomes a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It is interesting how you kind of crave those things, right?
That's a good craving.
Yeah. And you don't have to feel guilty about craving those. No. It's not like you're craving Tim Tams. You're craving meditation, or I've just started doing Muay Thai training. And I look like I'm getting bruises all over my knees and my elbows from hitting the heavy bag, and I can't wait.
That keeps you fit too. See, and that probably you do the mouth breathing and that.
Yeah, I just doing the nose breathing in a Muay Thai class is hard work.
Yeah, just do as much as you can. Yeah.
But my cardio has gotten so much better from just doing the nose breathing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So and I'm sure that if I did a bit more mouth breathing in the class, I would be able to perform a little better. But the point is, I know that only nose breathing is helping me in general. Yeah. So, and I'm going there to work out. So I'm not going there to throw as many punches as I possibly can. I'm going there to make myself healthy.
Yeah. A little bit of mouth breathing is fine, but you watch people like Floyd Mayweather. You watch him fight. Because you watch the fight between him and McGregor. Yeah. And you watch McGregor, and Floyd Mayweather's just
barely opening his mouth.
nah, you watch him. He's very conscious.
I often wonder how many of these pro elite athletes know about the nose breathing.
There's teachers that teach them. Yeah, it's starting to become more common. Yeah, because they know over a long period of time it's much better. Yeah, it's taught in athletics if you did some research.
Interesting.
It is
because I feel like if you at least train that way, and then you can fall back on breathing through your mouth in a match or a game.
Yeah.
When you really need that little bit extra, sure you can. But if your body is conditioned to taking in less air purely because of nose breathing when you train, you would think that almost like altitude training, you'd just get more efficient at processing oxygen in general, so that when it comes to game day, you'd be able to perform better than others.
Yeah, there's studies on that if you did some research. Yeah, there are coaches that teach that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like legal doping. Well, it's a little trick that it'll probably get to the point where they'll all be doing it, because it'll be that advantage that you just need.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are too.
Yeah.
And I think once again, the yoga and the stretching, you watch all these football players and that they're doing very, like, a lot of the stretches are very similar to the yoga asanas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. They're even doing like downward dog and running and stuff.
Wow.
Like that. It's interesting. Hey. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the books that you've written? What do you got in the works at the moment?
Yeah. In the works at the moment is mainly my teacher training.
Yep.
I have written 4 books at the moment. I've got 2 others sort of drafts planning, and maybe 10, 50,000 words for those books as well.
Wow. Okay.
So
there's some real stuff in there.
Yeah, I started something that I struggled with so much, actually writing, but now it's something I really enjoy.
So what's your course? Yoga course, meditation
course? Yeah, I do have 5 online courses, but my main focus at the moment is my Meta-Teacher training program. So it's called the Transformational Meditation Method, which, for me, this course is very deep to my heart, because I think it's very useful for yoga teachers, and even if you're a meditation teacher and you're teaching a lot of classes and you really love teaching, but you haven't had the success you want or the financial success you want, or you don't have a holistic system that you can really make really positive changes to your clients' lives. What I've done is I've extracted all the best techniques from various texts and healing modalities, and I've integrated them into this model, which, I'm super excited to share with the world. And
wow, yeah,
it's a very, very powerful holistic system. And the other thing about the course is I teach people how to write their own book, or to create their own series of workshops, or if they wanted to do one-on-one coaching, I teach them how to do that, and also to create their own like high-ticket products and services. Because I know most teachers are trading time and earning an hourly rate, whereas, and I think for me, this is something that I really was really challenging in my life, like teaching so many classes, always looking for work, struggling paying the bills. So I've decided that I know a lot of other people in the same boat, especially yoga teachers and also even therapists. They're all trading their time for money. So I teach them how to have an asset that they can sell for the rest of their life, whether they want to run retreats around the world, or they want to do workshops, or write their own book, or their own online courses. So that's the very quick overview of the training. But
okay, we'll put links and that kind of stuff.
No problems. Yeah,
great, man. I look forward to checking it out.
Yeah,
Tony Myers,
thanks for chatting, Mark. I appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Awaken Mind podcast. And if you'd like to explore these practices further that we discussed today and start your own transformative journey, I invite you to check out the links in the description to learn more about the Transformational Method Teacher Training Program and about my books and courses on meditation. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more deep and meaningful, enlightening conversations.